The NFL has absolutely just robbed TJ Watt of yet another Defensive Player of the Year award. So, TJ Watt officially loses the Defensive Player of the Year award to Myles Garrett. And this is absolutely a shame because TJ Watt absolutely dominated Myles Garrett and every other player in rushing categories. Meaning that if you look up any statistic, any one you want, whether that be sacks, pressures, or anything, TJ Watt leads that category by a lot. And not even just by a little bit, by a large margin. Any person you want to compare him to, whether that be Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, or any other player, TJ Watt leads that category. The only category that Myles Garrett or any other player you could say leads in is PFF stats, whether that be pressure rate, pass rush win rate, double team rate, or whatever uses the human eye to judge it is basically all you could say that Myles Garrett leads in. So basically every stat that a human actually has to look at and decide whether they actually win that or lose that rep, that's basically everything that Myles Garrett wins in. Those actual stats that are being recorded, whether that be tackles, sacks, tackles for loss, or anything actually judged by statistical awards, TJ Watt leads in. For example, I'm going to put this up on the screen right now and you can see it individually. So, TJ Watt, he has 68 tackles. Myles Garrett, he finished with 42 tackles. Micah Parsons, he finished with 64 tackles. So TJ Watt, he leads in that category by a large margin, especially over Myles Garrett. And then TJ Watt in solo tackles, he has 48 of them. 33 from Myles Garrett and 36 from Micah Parsons. So once again, TJ Watt, he leads it by a large margin. For sacks, TJ Watt has 19 sacks. Myles Garrett, he has 14. And Micah Parsons, he finished with 14 as well. So TJ Watt finished with 5 more sacks than each of those two. TJ Watt, in terms of pressures on the quarterback, he has 50 total pressures. Myles Garrett, he has 37 pressures, and Micah Parsons finished with 43. So TJ Watt, once again, by a large margin. Quarterback hits. TJ Watt finished with 18. Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett both finished with 16. Tackles for loss. TJ Watt, he finished with 19. Micah Parsons finished with 18. And Myles Garrett finished with 17. So once again, TJ Watt leads in that category. Every single category so far, TJ Watt has beat out the two. Forced fumbles. TJ Watt had 4, and Myles Garrett had 4, and Micah Parsons had 1. This is the only one you could say that Myles Garrett tied TJ Watt. He didn't even beat him in it. He tied him. Fumble recoveries. TJ Watt had 3 fumble recoveries. Myles Garrett had 1, and Micah Parsons had 1. Once again, TJ Watt leads in this category. Interceptions. Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons didn't have any. I don't expect them to have any, but they didn't have any, and TJ Watt finished with 1. Pass deflections. Once again, I'm not expecting this to be a statistic in which you're looking at by a huge margin, but they both play defensive line, and most of TJ Watt's pass defense come at him swatting the ball at defensive line. So TJ Watt had 8 pass deflections, Micah Parsons had 2, and once again, Myles Garrett had 3. So TJ Watt leads by a huge margin. And for touchdowns, once again, I'm not expecting this to be a huge difference, or I'm not expecting the other two to have touchdowns, but TJ Watt does, and I wasn't expecting him to have either, since they all basically play the same position on the defensive line, outside linebacker, edge, whatever you want to call it. So all these categories, every category I just went through, TJ Watt leads it, and he leads it by a huge margin, except for one, which was tied with Myles Garrett. The only ones you could look at in terms of categories, like I said, is if you look at PFF or percentage stats. Yes, Myles Garrett, you could say he gets double teamed more. His double team rate is by a huge margin if you're looking at PFF stats. But what that PFF stat is not telling you is they don't count chip blocks. meaning that because TJ Watt plays more outside on the edge and Myles Garrett is a little bit more inside, it's easier to get double teamed if you're on the inside. But on the outside, it doesn't mean that TJ Watt is still not getting chip blocked with an extra tight end chipping before they go into their route, or a running back chipping before they go onto their route. Either way, it's still 2 or 3 guys chipping you, but it doesn't count as a double team. It doesn't count as a double team because it's not 2 offensive linemen. If it was 2 offensive linemen inside, sure, they would count it as a double team. But because it's not on the inside and it's on the outside and it's being chipped by a tight end or running back, and because they're not staying with them, there's not enough staying on the defender, they're actually just going into their route afterwards, it doesn't count. How many times have we seen TJ Watt get chipped? Almost every single play. Sometimes, obviously, yes, they can't do it every single time, but most of the time he does get chipped, but that doesn't count towards that stat. So, you look at these stats, and you can see why TJ Watt deserves Defensive Player of the Year. And actually, you could look back, what was it, 3 years ago? TJ Watt won it his last healthy season, in which he basically tied the sack record. Probably should have broke it, but they didn't give him the sack. So he tied the sack record. That was the only time he won Defensive Player of the Year before. So he got snubbed the year before that, and then the year he got snubbed, he came back better than ever. And that's what I expect TJ Watt to do this year. Come back better than ever. He did not even appear on the show. He actually stayed at home, so he did not go to the wards at all. He stayed home and he was playing a game with his wife. So he knew he got snubbed. He also put out this tweet on social media basically saying that, hey, he's used to it by now, and we all expected it. To be honest, I came into watching this, seeing this, thinking Myles Garrett was going to win, only because how much they've been talking about him all season. And also, the reason why they gave it to Myles Garrett is basically because they believe that he carried their team to the playoffs with an injured team, as if TJ Watt did not carry the Steelers as well. Without the Steelers, in terms of TJ Watt being playing, look at their record. Look how terrible it is. Look at TJ Watt and what he does for the team. He basically keeps that defense together. Defense for the Cleveland Browns, they're the best in the NFL. And they had one of the best cornerbacks as well, secondary play. So it's not even just as though it was only Myles Garrett. But you look at the Steelers, depleted everywhere. Safeties, cornerbacks, inside linebackers. TJ Watt was the only person keeping that defense together. They weren't the best defense in the NFL, but it was TJ Watt who pushed every single week to give Steelers a chance. And that's what he did, but he gets snubbed, and Myles Garrett wins the Defensive Player of the Year award over TJ Watt. I know this sounds like a lot of complaining, but it's just facts. Nothing I've said in this video is false. Only thing Myles Garrett beats TJ Watt in is fake statistics. So, TJ Watt gets snubbed. Hopefully he comes back better than ever, and next year he breaks the record. What are they going to say then? What are they going to say when TJ Watt breaks his own sack record that he already has tied with Michael Strahan? They can't say nothing about it, but that's what's going to happen. When that happens and the year awards come back around next season, we should be naming TJ Watt the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year award, or at least the 3-time. But no, next season it will be the 2nd time when he officially breaks the record. But TJ Watt gets snubbed, and I just want to make this video kind of saying that this is not right. But once again, we expected it. TJ Watt all season has been getting kind of slammed by the media because of his PFF stats and how Myles Garrett is so much better. But in terms of actual statistics, it's nowhere close. TJ Watt's just better. And also, Myles Garrett, one last thing before I end this video, he had 1 sack in the final 6 games of the season. 1 sack. He was basically a no-show for 6 games. Which other player do you know can have that happen and they still win the award? He's just lucky that his team made the playoffs and they had a good record and their defense carried him. That's how you look at it. You could look at it and say, hey, he had 1 sack through 6 games and their defense was still amazing. That means he had basically no huge part in the reason why their defense was amazing. Their defense was just good altogether. Everyone. So it wasn't him just keeping them together. 1 sack through 6 games. To put that into perspective, Nick Herbig, he had 2 sacks in the final 6 games of the season. So he was basically putting up the same production as Nick Herbig. But TJ Watt, we look even in the playoff game. He came into the end of the season, got injured the final game, did not appear in the playoff game, and look how terrible their defense played in that game. TJ Watt holds the team together, and we fully see that. Myles Garrett, on the other hand, I don't think you could say the same thing. Myles Garrett is still a great defensive player. Don't get me wrong. Once again, he gets almost sacks, but it is almost tackles. It is almost. You can't say he gets them if it is an almost stat. And that's all he leads TJ Watt in. TJ Watt leads in every other category. So let me know down in the comments below how you think TJ Watt got absolutely robbed of this Defense Player of the Year award. Do you agree with me? Or do you believe Myles Garrett deserves it and he should have won it? And even though none of his stats are better, he still deserves it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I obviously believe TJ Watt should be the 3-time, if not the 2-time, Defense Player of the Year award. With that being said, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below as well if you like Steelers content, analysis, reports. Like the video, turn on notifications down below for this channel as well so you can get notified whenever I post next year's video. I post every single day covering the Pittsburgh Steelers and everything around them. News, rumors, breaking news, highlights, reports, analysis, everything. I cover everything, so turn on notifications, click that bell down below so you never miss out, and I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.